My best friend betrayed me by investing my money in his startup and disappearing. I decided to bring it all back to San Diego this spring. The air in San Diego smells different than anywhere else. It's a mix of salt spray, eucalyptus, and expensive sunscreen. It's supposed to smell like vacation. It's supposed to smell like relaxation. But as I stepped out of the Uber and onto the sidewalk in front of the Pendry Hotel in the Gaslamp Quarter, all I could smell was the distinct, metallic scent of a score to settle. It was mid-April, spring, the season of rebirth, blooming flowers, and apparently tracking down the scumbag who used to be my brother. My name is Mark, and 6 months ago, my life was on a very different trajectory. I had a savings account that looked healthy, fat even, $200,000. It wasn't buy a private island money, but it was put a down payment on a house and breathe easy money. It was 10 years of grinding in logistics, eating ramen, and driving a Honda Civic with a rattling muffler. Then came Julian. Julian wasn't just a friend. He was the guy who stood next to me at my father's funeral. He was the guy I bailed out of a Mexican jail in our 20s. We were closer than blood. So when he came to me with Nebula, his revolutionary AI startup that was going to disrupt the supply chain logistics industry, I didn't just see a pitch deck. I saw my best friend's dream. He had the charts, the projections, and that charisma that could sell ice to an Eskimo. "It's a sure thing, Mark," he'd said, his eyes wild with that manic energy I used to admire. "I just need the seed capital to build the prototype. Once we hit Series A, your 200 grand turns into 2 million. Minimum." I transferred the money on a Tuesday. By Friday, Julian was going dark to focus on the build. By the next month, his number was disconnected. By month 3, his apartment in Chicago was cleared out, the lease broken. No Nebula, no prototype, just a ghost where my best friend used to be. I spent the winter in a dark depression that nearly cost me my job. But then, a week ago, I got a ping. I'd set a Google alert for Julian's full name, coupled with keywords like CEO, founder, and startup. It popped. Julian Vane, CEO of Ether Health, to speak at the SoCal Tech Innovator Summit in San Diego. He hadn't just stolen my money, he'd pivoted. Supply chain was out, health tech was in. He was using my sweat equity to fund his new life as a California tech bro. I packed a bag. I booked a flight. I wasn't going to the police. The police would call it a civil matter. They'd take a report and file it in the trash. No, this required a personal touch. I was going to get my money back, and I was going to do it before the jacaranda trees finished blooming. The Gaslamp Quarter was buzzing. It was Friday evening, and the Tech Innovator Summit had just wrapped its opening ceremonies. The streets were filled with lanyard-wearing 20-somethings and venture capitalists in Patagonia vests. I checked into a Motel 6 on the outskirts to save cash. I didn't have much left. But I spent my time in the lobby of the Pendry, where the summit's VIPs were staying. I sat in a plush velvet chair, nursing a $20 old-fashioned I couldn't afford, watching the elevators. I needed a plan. Violence was the first thing my lizard brain wanted. I wanted to smash his teeth in. But assault charges wouldn't restore my bank account. I needed leverage. "You look like a guy who's waiting for a date who's 2 hours late, or a guy waiting to kill someone." I looked to my left. A woman was sitting on the adjacent sofa, typing furiously on a tablet. She didn't look up. She had sharp features, dark hair cut into a severe bob, and glasses that reflected the blue light of her screen. "Neither," I said, taking a sip of the watering-down whiskey. "Just waiting for an old friend." "You have a vein throbbing in your forehead," she noted, finally glancing at me. "That usually suggests the friend isn't someone you're happy to see." "He owes me money," she snorted. "Get in line, honey. This is a tech conference. Everyone owes everyone money. It's a Ponzi scheme with better catering." She extended a hand. "Chloe, tech journalist, or corporate muckraker, depending on who you ask." "Mark," I said, "logistics, or sucker, depending on who you ask." Chloe closed her laptop. She seemed bored, and I looked like entertainment. "How much?" 200 large. She whistled low. "Ouch. Angel investor?" "Best friend." The amusement vanished from her face, replaced by a flicker of genuine sympathy. "That's the worst kind. What's his name? Maybe I know him. I know all the frauds." "Julian Vane. Company is called Ether Health." Chloe's eyes widened slightly. She tapped her chin. "Ether Health. The biofeedback patch guys. They're the darlings of the summit. Rumor is they're closing a $5 million round with Titan Ventures this weekend." My stomach dropped. $5 million. He was playing in the big leagues now, using my life savings as the buy-in. "He's here?" I asked. "Penthouse suite," Chloe said, nodding toward the ceiling. "He's hosting a private mixer tonight for the Titan partners. Invite only. Security is tight." I looked at the elevators. They seemed a mile away. I need to get in there. Chloe studied me. She looked at my off-the-rack blazer and my scuffed shoes. Then she looked at the fire in my eyes. Journalists live for the story, and I realized I was handing her one on a silver platter. "You can't get in," she said bluntly. "You don't have a badge, and you look like you're ready to commit a felony. But," she paused, a slow grin spreading across her face, "I have a +1 on my press pass, and I love watching a train wreck." "Why would you help me?" "Because Julian Vane declined my request for an interview 3 times, she said, standing up and smoothing her skirt. "And I have a hunch that Ether Health is about as real as the Tooth Fairy. If you expose him, I get the scoop. If you don't, I get a free drink. Win-win." The elevator ride was silent. My heart was hammering against my ribs like a trapped bird. Chloe fixed my collar and told me to smile. "You're not an angry creditor," she whispered as the doors opened to the penthouse level. "You're a silent partner. You're successful. You're unbothered. If you look desperate, you lose." "I am desperate," I muttered. "Fake it." The penthouse was obscene. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooked the bay, the Coronado Bridge glowing blue in the distance. Waiters circulated with trays of things that looked like art but were probably food. The room was filled with men who looked like they owned sailboats and women who looked like they owned the men. And there he was, Julian. He was standing by the balcony, holding a glass of champagne. He looked better than I'd ever seen him. He was tan, his hair was perfectly styled, and he was wearing a suit that cost more than my first car. He was laughing at something a gray-haired man was saying. The gray-haired man I assumed was from Titan Ventures. I felt a wave of nausea. He was laughing. He was drinking champagne, while I was eating peanut butter sandwiches and wondering if I'd have to move back in with my parents at 32. Chloe nudged me. "Showtime. Don't punch him." I took a deep breath, grabbed a glass of sparkling water from a passing tray to steady my hands, and walked across the room. I waited until there was a lull in the conversation. Julian turned, his smile beaming, ready to charm the next person in his orbit. His eyes landed on me. The reaction was instantaneous. The color drained from his face so fast I thought he was going to faint. His smile didn't just fade, it shattered. For a split second, I saw the terror, the guilt. "Hello, Julian," I said. My voice was surprisingly steady. "Long time." The gray-haired man looked between us. "Friend of yours, Julian?" Julian swallowed hard. I could see the gears turning. If he made a scene, he'd spook the investors. If he called security, I'd start shouting about the theft. He was trapped. "Mark!" Julian choked out, stepping forward and grabbing my shoulder in a grip that was meant to be friendly but was actually trying to steer me away. My oldest friend, from Chicago. What a surprise!" "I happen to be in the neighborhood," I said, not moving an inch. "I heard Aether Health is doing great things. I was just telling everyone how proud I am to be the first investor." I put a heavy emphasis on the word first. The VC guy, his name tag read Robert, perked up. "Oh, you were the seed money?" "That's right," I said, locking eyes with Julian. "The very first check, the foundation of everything you see here." Julian was sweating now. A bead of perspiration rolled down his temple. "Mark is... yes, he was instrumental in the early days. Robert, if you'll excuse us, I need to catch up with my old buddy. It's been too long." "Take your time," Robert said, smiling. "Always good to meet the people who believed from the start." Julian practically dragged me onto the balcony and slid the glass door shut. The noise of the party faded, replaced by the cool ocean breeze and the distant hum of the city. He dropped the act immediately. "What the hell are you doing here, Mark?" he hissed, his voice low and venomous. "I think you know. How did you find me?" "You have an ego, Julian. You wanted to be famous. Hard to be famous and invisible at the same time." I leaned against the railing, looking down at the street 20 stories below. "Nice suit. Is that Italian? Did my 401k pay for the stitching?" "Look, Mark, I can explain." "No," I cut him off. "You can't. You ghosted me. You took everything I had, you lied about the company, and you ran. There is no explanation. There is only repayment." Julian ran a hand through his hair. He looked frantic. "I don't have it." "You're about to close a $5 million round. That's corporate money. It goes into the business account. I can't just write you a personal check for 200 grand without raising red flags. We're being audited for the deal." "Not my problem," I said. "You figured out how to steal it. Figure out how to give it back." "I lost it, okay?" he snapped. "The first startup, Nebula, it tanked. The developers screwed me. The money burned up in 3 months. This, Aether Health, this is my second chance. If you blow this for me, I have nothing. And if I have nothing, you get nothing." It was the classic con man's defense. "I'm too big to fail now, so you have to support me." "Here's the deal," I said, stepping closer to him. "I don't care about your second chance. I care about my first chance that you stole. You have until tomorrow morning. Find the money. Sell your watch, sell your car, dip into the slush fund I know you have. If I don't have a wire transfer by 10 a.m., I walk into that room and I tell Robert exactly how you treat your investors. I'll show him the bank transfers, the ghosted texts, the fake prototypes from Nebula. I'll burn you to the ground, Julian. I will be the lawsuit that haunts you for the rest of your life." Julian stared at me. He looked for the soft-hearted friend he used to know. He looked for the guy who would forgive him. He didn't find him. That guy died in the winter. 10 a.m., Julian whispered. I can't do the full 200. I can give you 50 now, the rest later." 200, I said, plus 10% interest for the 6 months. 220,000, or I torched the deal. I turned and walked back into the party. I nodded at Robert, grabbed another sparkling water, and walked out with Chloe. "That was intense," Chloe said as we sat in a dive bar 2 blocks away. She was eating fish tacos like she hadn't eaten in a week. "I got a picture of his face when you walked in. Priceless." "He says he doesn't have it," I said, staring at my phone. "He's lying," Chloe said. "Guys like that always have a go-bag fund. Crypto, offshore, something. But he's right about one thing. If he pays you from the company account before the deal closes, it's embezzlement. If he waits until after the deal, he has cash, but he won't pay you because he won't need you anymore." "So I have to force him to pay before the deal, but from personal funds." "Exactly. You need to make him believe that the cost of not paying you is immediate destruction." Chloe tapped her taco on the plate. But here's the kicker, Mark. Ether Health? I did some digging while you were having your reunion. The tech? It's vaporware. I looked up. What? I called a source at the university where his lead scientist supposedly works. The guy doesn't exist. The prototype they're showing? It's a repackaged Fitbit sensor in a 3D printed shell. If Titan Ventures does any real due diligence, the deal falls apart anyway. My blood ran cold. If the deal was fake or destined to fail, Julian was just looking for a quick cash injection from the VC to disappear again. He was going to take the $5 million and run to Brazil. If he's planning to run, I said, he won't pay me. He'll just bolt tonight. He knows I'm onto him. I stood up. I need to go back. Whoa, cowboy, Chloe said. Go back and do what? Tackle him? I need to watch him. If he leaves that hotel with luggage, I need to know. I spent the night in my rental car across the street from the Pendry. I drank 3 Red Bulls and listened to talk radio. It was miserable. My back ached, my eyes burned, and every time a valet brought out a car, I tensed up. At 4 a.m., a black SUV pulled up to the side entrance. I sat up. Julian came out. He wasn't wearing the suit anymore. He was in a hoodie and jeans, carrying a backpack and a small duffel. He looked nervous, checking the street. Gotcha, I whispered. He wasn't waiting for 10 a.m. He was cutting his losses. He probably figured he couldn't talk his way out of me exposing him, so he was skipping town before the VC meeting. He threw his bag into the SUV. I started my engine. I didn't know what I was going to do. Ram him? Follow him to the airport and scream at him in the TSA line? Then, my phone buzzed. An incoming text. Check your email. I frowned. I opened my email app. J_Vane88. Subject. Done. Attachment. Wire transfer confirmation. $220,000. I stared at the screen. I refreshed my banking app. It usually takes hours, sometimes days for a wire, but we use the same major bank. Sometimes it was instant. Pending deposit. $220,000. I froze. He paid. I looked up at the SUV. Julian was standing by the open door, looking directly at my rental car. He knew I was there. He gave a small, sad wave. He got in the car. The SUV pulled away, heading toward the highway. I sat there, stunned. Why? Why pay me if he was running? Then another email came in. Mark, I'm sorry. Not for the business. That's just the game. But for doing it to you. You were the only real friend I had. I panicked back in Chicago. I panicked today. The tech is fake. You probably guessed that. Titan was going to find out eventually. I'm not running with their money. I haven't signed the deal yet. I'm just running. This is the last of what I had left from the first round of investors. I was saving it for my getaway. I guess I'm taking the bus now. Don't follow me. You got your win. Go home. Jay. I watched the taillights of the SUV disappear around the corner. The anger that had fueled me for 6 months suddenly evaporated, leaving a strange, hollow space in my chest. He had cleared his account to pay me back. He was broke. He was on the run from potential fraud charges, from other investors, from himself. I looked at my banking app again. The numbers were real. I was whole. Actually, I was better than whole. But it didn't feel like a victory parade. It felt like the end of a long, sad funeral. The next morning, the sun was shining brighter than ever. I met Chloe for breakfast at a cafe in La Jolla before my flight. The ocean was a brilliant turquoise, crashing against the rocks. So, Chloe said, stirring her latte, he paid? He paid. And he ran? He ran. Chloe shook her head. A con man with a conscience. That's a rare breed. Or maybe he just knew you were the one guy who wouldn't stop hunting him. Maybe, I said. Or maybe he just wanted to be square with one person in his life before he disappeared for good. What are you going to do now? I looked out at the ocean. I had my money. I had my life back. I could go back to my job, buy that house, pretend the last 6 months never happened. I'm going to take a week, I said. Stay here. Enjoy the weather. I paid a high price for this vacation. It's a nice city for a fresh start, Chloe smiled. And hey, if you get bored, I'm chasing a lead on a crypto scammer in Pacific Beach next week. Could use a partner who knows how to stake out a hotel. I laughed. For the first time in half a year, it was a genuine laugh. I think I'm done with scammers, Chloe. I'm sticking to logistics. Boxes go from A to B. Nobody lies about the boxes. Boring, she teased. Safe, I corrected. I paid the check, with my own money, knowing the account was full again. I walked out onto the promenade. The spring air was crisp. The smell of betrayal was gone, replaced by the smell of salt and sunscreen. I took out my phone and deleted the Google alert for Julian Vane. Goodbye, brother, I whispered to the wind. I turned my face to the sun. It was warm. It was spring in San Diego, and for the first time in a long time, the future looked like something I could actually afford. I had won. It wasn't the way I imagined it. No police raids, no public shaming, but I had my life back. And standing there, watching the surfers paddle out into the Pacific, I realized that the money was just currency. The real win was knowing that I wasn't him. I hadn't let the bitterness turn me into something ugly. I walked down the steps toward the beach, took off my shoes, and let the cold water rush over my feet. I was free.